And welcome to another installment of Lightroom Classic, the complete guide. Let's take a look back at what we've done thus far. Not everyone has started from the beginning, so let's give them an idea of what we've done. On the first week, we mainly tried to create a firm foundation of knowledge, so you had a good way of thinking about Lightroom as a whole. What catalog files are, how many of them you need, what's the most ideal way of setting up your folders, how do you export, import, and print. In the second week, we concentrated on organizing our images and adjusting them. Therefore, we learned how to do things like retouching, correcting for or reducing noise in our images, and adjusting individual areas of our picture where we could brush an adjustment into the image. Well, today, we're going to switch over and talk about keywording our images using facial recognition and viewing images on a map. That means that after today, you can have Lightroom recognize people in your photographs, and it will know their names. And then we can also view our images in a different way by seeing them on a map. So let's jump right into Lightroom and get started. I'm going to start off talking about getting your images to be viewed on a map. Now, I already have a bunch of images that are tagged with location information. And so if you do what I'm about to do here, you might end up not seeing anything. But I want to show you what it would look like when we're done getting this set up. So here I've just told it to show me all my photographs in my Lightroom catalog. And I'm going to click on the map module. Now when I do, it'll take it a moment. You'll see in the upper left, it says loading markers. That means it's reading in any location information that's been attached to my pictures, and it's figuring out where should they appear on a map. Now, you should know that it's doing this right now to over 200,000 photographs, and that's why it takes a little bit of time, because I was having it do it to my entire Lightroom catalog. Now, with this, I can now see where a lot of the photographs I've taken are located on a map, and I can zoom in and zoom out to explore this map. If you look near the lower left of the map area, we have a plus and a minus sign, and if I click on those, it can allow me to zoom up on my picture. And as I do, you'll find that these little markers on the map that have a number inside of them, if there's not a little point on the bottom of that, you notice how this one here has a point at the bottom? Here, I'll zoom up on my screen. That's got a point on the bottom, this one doesn't. What that means is as I zoom up, the ones that don't have a point on the bottom, they're going to split apart to show you more. So right now, here's 1,927 pictures in that area, but if I zoom up on that spot, you'll find that one marker split apart into multiple. And as long as I continue to zoom up, whenever I see one of these that does not have a point in the bottom, the more I zoom up, the more it will split into multiple groupings. If, on the other hand, I see one of those numbers and it's got a little point at the bottom, that means that all 13 of those photographs were taken in one location. And it doesn't matter how much you zoom up on that area, there'll still be 13 photographs because they're all taken in the same spot. Then if I were to hover over that number, I can actually preview one of those images. I can see the date it was captured, and it'll tell me some information about the images. Like there's 37 images, and it shows me the general exposure information, and I could cycle through here and see that those might not have been exciting pictures. So the tip on the end indicates that they're all in one spot. No tip on the end means if you zoom up, you're going to see it break apart into a more defined location. So now I can see that there was two shots here, taking a picture of a lodge. So how can we get our pictures to appear on a map like this so that we have a different way of exploring our images? Well, first off, the way I got the majority of these to have information is I actually had an accessory attached to my camera. Back when I used to shoot with a Canon camera, I could have a GPS unit that I slid into the hot shoe where you'd usually put a flash on the camera. And I put that on anytime I was going to go out shooting outdoors, and just by turning it on, it would automatically figure out where it was located, and it would tag every picture I took with a location. And that's all I needed to do. Well, now I no longer shoot with Canon, and I shoot with Sony. Sony doesn't offer that as an accessory, so I have some other options. Sony does have an iPhone app and I'm assuming they might have one for Android. And if I launch that app and I make sure that it is communicating with the camera, then it can use my GPS that's in my cell phone to tag my photographs. So that's an alternative. Another way you could do this would be if you don't have an app that's related to your camera, you can just get a GPS app for your phone. And there's one that can create what's known as a GPS track log. And as long as you have one that can record in what's called GPX format, then it can create a text file that we can load into Lightroom. So what you end up doing is you launch an app on your phone and you just tell it to start recording your location. And then about every minute, it writes down the GPS coordinates for wherever you are. And then as you shoot in various locations, as long as you have that app running, it just has a timestamp for where you're located, and it'll sync it up with the photos you take just by comparing the timing. So it says, you took this photograph at 3 p.m. and your phone recorded your position as this spot at 3 p.m. Therefore, that's where the photo was taken. If you ever do that, it's known as a GPS track log. You can load those into Lightroom right down here. There's a pop-up menu. It says Load Track Logs. You select the number of photos you want, say Load Track Log, and it can apply all the information your phone captured. What I want to show you here is how can I get my images onto a map if I didn't have any of that technology and I just want to manually do it here using the map. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to return to my library module, and I'm going to pick some specific images to work with, because right now we're viewing all 200,000+ photos. Here I have some where I can think of where they were taken, and it'll be easy for me to figure out where to put them. So I'm going to click on the first image here, and I'll just make sure that I have all the images I want to put on a map visible. I'm going to hit the map module, and down here at the very bottom of my screen, I'm going to expand that area, and this is the film strip. And right here I see the very first image, and I recognize that image. It was taken in San Francisco. So in the upper right of the map, I can search for a location, and I'll type in San Francisco. And when I do that, it'll take it a moment, and it will locate San Francisco and put a little yellow dot on it to indicate where it found it. Then I can zoom up using the plus and minus keys here. And I could decide where specifically I think this was shot, and I could drag this photograph onto the map. And the only problem is when you drag a photo onto a map, it does mark it with a very precise location, like the exact within a few yards of where you dropped it. So just dragging it on top of San Francisco might be fine for some things, but in this case, I want it to be a little bit more specific. I know that this particular photograph was taken in an area called Coit Tower, and I hope that if I go to the search field in the upper right and I type Coit Tower, it might know where that is. And it looks like it does. Right here is the tower that this picture was taken within. I'll now click on the picture, and I'm going to drag it onto the map, and I'm just going to put it right there to tell it that that's where the photo was taken. And when I do that, it tags it with a GPS location. And it often takes it a moment, because what it'll do is it figures out what the GPS coordinates would be for that spot. And then it also figures out some other information. It will look up like the country, the county, and much else that it will also attach to that image to make it searchable based on that information. So let's see what else we have here for images to capture. Here is one. If I look at it here, it's taken on some stairs that were on a walkway up to this tower. So what I'm going to do now is I'll zoom up on my image and see where I think that might have been. It was somewhere in this general area. I think these are the steps where I may have taken that. It actually was called the Filbert steps. So here I see the word Filbert. Those has got to be the steps. So I think anywhere along here would be close enough to tag that photograph with. So I'll put it right here. Let go. And you'll find at first it's yellow, which means it's still kind of working. If I go back over this way, you see it changes to more of an orange. And that really depends on what picture you have selected. If I click on the other picture, you'll see it turns yellow to indicate that's the one I'm working on. So as you click between your images, those change color. The ones that are this yellowish color is the one you're actually working on. Anyway, it's putting that information on the image. Now let's tag a few other images and see the other features we might use to do this with. I have a picture here. Let's see, right here is one, and I'll make this a little larger so it's easier for you to see, I hope. Okay, here's one where I can see a building in the background, and that is the Transamerica building. And so I'm going to come in here to my map, and I want to try to find where would I get a view of that building in the distance. So I'll zoom out, and it's hard for me to tell where the Transamerica building would be here because I don't see it. So let's change our view of the map. I'm going to come down here to a setting near the lower left of the map. It's currently set to road map. Why don't we set it to satellite? And if I set it to the satellite view, then I might be able to scroll over. And right there, I'm assuming that's the Transamerica building because it looks like a pyramid on top. And so I'm going to compare that position to over where we've tagged our images. Maybe I'll zoom out just a little bit so I can see both areas. And I'll guesstimate that in order to get a view of that, I'd probably have to be lined up either on this street here or the one right next to it, most likely this one. And that's also near where I took that last photograph. So now I got a better idea of where I might have taken that. Let's zoom up a little bit and see if there's another view that might help me. So there we are. I'm going to change our view now to a choice called terrain. Terrain will give me a three-dimensional view of the area. And there I can see that right there where I was standing, I can see these drop-offs where it's going to be a steep hill going down, and that's probably going to be what I sighted across. So right here on Montgomery Street, it probably was that one because there's a hill going down, which would make it easier to see what is down this way. So I'm assuming I was right up here near the top of that hill, so I will grab that photograph, and I think right about there is close enough. It doesn't have to be absolutely precise, but it gives me a general idea of where the photo was taken. That would be good. Then other things that I could do is I can go back here, and let's say we have another picture. There's one taken right here. This photograph, you take a look at it, is Karen doing a back bend, and I remember that was done really close to these docks that are here. In order to figure out which one it is, I think it might be useful to have the satellite view, and I could look at where do cruise ships come in, and that's what we were actually visiting in. And so let's just say it was over in this area. I can be at any zoom level I want to, and I could grab that and just drag it to the map. Now, the further you're zoomed out, the less precise you're being. You never know, did I just plunk that in the middle of a road or did I put it in the middle of the water? So you might want to zoom up if you need it to be precise. I got another picture here I recognize, and I think I might be able to locate it if I just visually inspect what's here. I think it's somewhere along in here, but if I zoom up, might be able to recognize objects a little bit more. I think it was after that curve. It's right here. If I zoom up, I can recognize this little object. That's an archway, and we were shooting right about there. So I'm just going to click on this, drag it right to the map. All right, so that's all we need to do in order to add things to the map. You've seen that here. We can switch between various views, and I've shown you how terrain can be useful for the 3D look. Road map is what you might be used to when using maps in general, or you can choose hybrid, which is a mix of a road map and the satellite view. You also have the choice available in here of either a light or a dark road map. And so if I choose light versus dark. So if you like working with the dark interface of Lightroom, you might prefer the choice called dark here, just so it looks like it blends with it a bit more. Let's go back to our just normal roadmap view, and let's see a few of the other things we can do when we're in a map. Well, let's say I want to return to various locations when I'm going to do a talk about photographs and what I've shot in the past. In this case, we're only looking at the photos that we're just tagging, so I don't see all those other areas. But let's say I want to be able to easily get back to a view of the United States, and then I want to be able to easily zoom up to the state of California and other things. Well, if I get the area that I want to look at, so I'm seeing it here on my map, on the left side there is a choice called Saved Locations. And if you hit the plus sign on the right side, you're going to be creating a new saved location centered on your current view. Then there'll be a slider here at the bottom called radius, and you can define how large of an area. I'm going to define this so it includes all of the United States, and so therefore I can very quickly get to the point where I can see that again. Up here, I'm just going to give this a name, and I'll just call it USA. I'll put it in a folder called My Locations, but you could create new folders to organize this in. Maybe this is going to be, for instance, I take pictures of vintage service stations. Maybe I have a folder just for that, and I bring it to very specific locations. It really depends on your use for this. For now, I'll just put it in My Locations and hit Create. You'll now see it over here on the left side of my screen, and it tells me there are 5 photographs currently found within that area. If I would like to make another one, all I need to do is either search, maybe here in the upper right, and in this case, I might put in California. See if it'll zoom me in a little bit on California. Again, go here to Saved Locations, hit the plus sign, and I'll call this. Now, unfortunately, it is a circle, so this circle is not going to just contain California. It's also going to contain pretty much all of Nevada, but I could create that. Then in the future, let's say that I was browsing all my photographs. I'll go back to my library. I'll go back up here to the top where it's called Catalog, and I'll hit All Photographs. Well, now if I view that on the map, those numbers, it might take it a few minutes for it to load, but it's now going to tell me here in the Saved Locations area that I have 17,672 pictures that were inside the circle that I defined as USA, and I have 1,801 in California. And therefore, it's a whole nother way of now thinking about in viewing your images. If you click on the triangle that is found to the right of the number that's there, it will limit your views so that you're only viewing those particular images that were in that circle. And so it's a different way we can now explore. But I find these saved locations to be too limited with a circle. That's why I don't really have them defined here. Instead, I find it to be more useful to just perform searches or narrow the number of images that I'm viewing before I ever head into the map. All right, then, whenever you tag an image with a location, you're going to find that it adds additional metadata to your picture. It's going to add, over here on the right side of my screen, in the metadata spot, right here, GPS data. And if you change the view that you have on the right side, you can change it by changing the preset that's up here, or you can edit the presets. You can get it to even show you additional info, such as what country it was, because it can automatically look up that data. So it's a really nice feature. I primarily find it to be useful when I can get my images to be automatically tagged. Otherwise, it's a little bit labor intensive to get them manually added to a map. If you want to get it to happen on a more automated basis, here's an example of an iPhone app that can keep track of your location. If you take a look at this one, Track Recorder, all I do when I'm about to go out and shoot is I launch this app and I hit the Start button, which gets it to look like this. And as I do this, this is just running on my phone. It's keeping track of my location on a regular basis. And then I can save that track and I can just give it a name and I can share it. If I put it on Dropbox or email it to myself, then I can easily get it to my computer. And after giving it a name, I can store multiple ones of these. Then in order to get it to tag it to my photographs, I go to the map module when I have those photos in view, meaning they're the only ones I'm viewing, and I come over here and choose Load Track Log, and it's able to associate that file with my photos. So that's one of the special features we want to talk about today is viewing your images on a map. But that's not the only thing. I also want to show you how we can get Lightroom to try to recognize who people are in photographs. So if we want to be able to quickly search and find photos of particular people, it might be able to speed up the process. So let's take a look. And this is kind of a weird thing to demonstrate because if I start from scratch as if I've never done it before, it takes Lightroom quite a while to analyze all my photographs and actually find all the faces. So we might end up just sitting here and waiting for Lightroom. So instead, I'm going to start where I've already had Lightroom identify some faces so it can do some of its work ahead of time. And that means when I first get in here, this is going to look a little different than what you'll see if it's the first time you're using this feature. So here I have a series of images of people, and I want to be able to very quickly tag their names so we can search for them and find them in the future. So I'm in the library module. I have some of the images I want to view, and I'm going to go to the bottom of my screen where I see an icon that looks like a face. I can either click on that or I can type the letter O to get into this view. The very first time you do that, it'll ask if you want to start facial recognition, and you'll have two options. One is to do it for your entire Lightroom catalog file, and the other is to do it on an as-needed basis. An as-needed basis would mean whenever I click on that icon to go into the facial recognition view. So that, therefore, Lightroom's not doing all that much work in the background when you're not trying to have it recognize faces. But here's the view that we get. Now let's take a look at it. It's divided up into two sections. One is up here called Named People, and the other is down here called Unnamed. If it would be the very first time I visit this, the top area would be empty because I would not have typed in any names yet, so it wouldn't know who anyone in my catalog is. This area would simply be empty. Then this area below, it would show all the faces that it has found in my photographs. And what it'll do is when it finds a face, it will crop the image down so you're only viewing the face. Then if you scroll through here and you see somebody that you recognize, here's somebody I recognize, I can type in their name, and if I've ever tagged a photo with their name before, it will show up in this list, and I could choose it here. Then I press Return or Enter, and suddenly it knows who that person is, and it moves it up here to this area called Named People. So what I would have to do is down here, these names wouldn't be there because I would not have typed in any names yet. Instead, all there would be is a question mark. And I would come down here and look for somebody that I recognize, and I'd type in their name. Press Return or Enter, and they would disappear and again get moved up to that area called Named People. I know this is Rich. I'm guessing I've tagged him before because I've got a lot of pictures of Rich. Yep, that's Rich Heritage. As you name people, then instead of having only question marks below your photographs, it's going to start guessing at who these people are. And in this case, it thinks an awful lot of people are me because I see my name showing up under all sorts of pictures. Well, all I need to do is I need to educate Photoshop a bit more. So instead of only having 3 or 4 examples of what my face looks like, it might have dozens. And then it'll start doing a much better job. If you scroll up to the very top of the area called Unnamed People, you'll find that as it thinks it finds the same person and it is relatively certain that those are the same people, it will start grouping photographs together and it'll put a number on top of the image. Here it has 26 images that it thinks are me. And so I can click on the number 26 and it should expand it to show me all 26 images that it's pretty sure are me. And if I am yes in all 26 of those images, I could click the number again to collapse that. And you see here's a no symbol if it wasn't correctly identifying me, or a checkbox. When I click the checkbox, these images are going to be moved up here. And so instead of only having 6 images of me, it's going to have 26 additional added. So now if I come up here, instead of saying that it has 6 images of me, it now has 32. And the more I do that to add more images of me, the more educated it becomes and the better it is at guessing who are found in your photographs. So far you've seen that when it puts a name underneath, I could hit the checkbox if it's right or hit the no symbol if I don't want to tag that person. But the other thing I can do is select images. Here I clicked on one image and I'm going to just keep looking until I see somebody other than me. Look at that, I even got a mohawk in one of them. Okay, that's not me. So I'm going to hold Shift, I'm going to click on that last image. So I just selected all of those pictures that contain me. The next thing I can do is drag it on top of the area at the top where it says named people. When I let go, it's going to now think that all those people are tagged with my name. And the more I drag images up here, like there's Cherie again, the more it's going to be able to accurately recognize people. So here it still thinks that this person's actually Rich, is me because it's putting his name there, but if I go find enough pictures of him, see if I have a lot more, I think I do down below. If I drag enough up there, it might start separating it, so instead of thinking that everything is me, it will start accurately knowing, well, right there it knows that's Rich, but I'm going to select enough of these that's not Rich on the end. And then, come on. Since one of them had the wrong name attached, I didn't want to hit the checkbox. But I'll put it on Rich. Before, we only had 2 photographs to identify who he is. With only 2, it's hard to figure out really who those people are. But now when I come down here, it still thinks this one's me, but if I were to wait about 5 minutes, it would start to become a little more educated, and it might put the word Rich under there. In fact, I might leave it that way just to see if it will actually update. This here is a guy by the name of David, so I'm going to click down there, put Dave. Oh, there's his name, so I've tagged him before. This is also David. And as I name each one, it puts it at the top. Now, one thing that's nice about this, if you don't know somebody's name, but you might be able to go look it up, like when you get home or something, like this is Rich's dad. I know his name, but let's say I can't think of it. I'm just going to come in here and say Rich's dad. If I tag somebody with a name like that, maybe it's a nickname, or maybe it's just bride and groom, things like that. Later on, you can update the name, and every single picture that that image has been tagged with will update. And therefore, you don't have to be absolutely precise at the beginning. Let's see if I get these thumbnails a little smaller so I can be more efficient. I see all sorts of pictures of me. I can just hit the checkbox. If you hit the checkbox when you have more than one picture selected, then it will be the equivalent to accepting all of them. This is not Karen, this is Cassandra. But I might as well have more than one image selected at the time I tag one. Then all those can go away. This is my wife, Karen. Now, on occasion, you're going to find, those are all tagged with Karen properly, so I'll hit the checkbox, that it recognizes things that aren't human faces. For instance, here is a picture of a painting, or it's a mural. If you want to see the full image so you can figure out what that's from, you can always double-click on an image. And if you double-click, it will show you the whole image, and it thinks this up here might be Karen Wilmore, which it's wrong. Karen Wilmore is down here. So you can click on a face region within an image, which I just did, and then you can hit the delete key. And therefore, it will no longer try to recognize that area. You can also, when you're in the face view, click and drag on an image like this and create a manual region. And in this case, I'll name that Karen Wilmore. So it does have her in the proper spot. I'm going to go back to face view by clicking on the face icon. So here's another one. I'm like, what is that? It doesn't look like a normal thing. I double click on it and I see it's got my wife. It thinks it's me though. So let me put Karen in there. Okay, and it found somebody off here on the side. So I think that's actually part of a billboard that's there, and so it's not really something that I'd like. So there, I can get rid of this. I'm just going to click on it, hit delete if I need to, and you can get rid of or add face regions. The other thing that it's going to do, if I go back to my face view, is here it found a monkey. I'm going to hit the no symbol. The no symbol means don't try to recognize that area. Or that it's wrong. If I just click it when it's an X, it will get rid of the face region. But if you have group photographs where there's more than one person in an area, you'll find each face is individually marked. For instance, here, we're in a limousine. If I double click, you'll find that it found not just one face, but it found 1, 2, 3 of them. It didn't get all the ones that were in here, so I could just draw another box. This is Drew. And I can draw another box here. Anyway, you can do that manually, but if faces are sideways or the back of their head or anything like that, it's not going to recognize them as a face. And if need be, just view the photograph, and in face mode, you can draw your own region, which can be useful. Other times, you're going to find it recognizing things that just aren't faces at all. Hit the no symbol, hit it one more time, it becomes an X, and that means you're going to not think about that face region. Sometimes it's just, like in this particular photograph, if I double click, that's just a pedestrian or some person that I don't know, so I don't really need them in the photo. If I click on the region, you see the little corners highlighted. I can hit delete to remove it. I want to get rid of that one as well. And here it didn't get Karen because her face is pointing the other way, but I might want to tag her. So we can do that. So anyway, you should be getting an okay idea for how you can tag things. And the main thing you need is just time. If I were to come back here in like 45 minutes from now, the choices that are down below would be much more accurate, at least usually. I'm not sure in this particular case. And therefore, it would be much faster and easier to do so. And you'll find many more of the images will be stacked on top of each other. You might have a number here that says 65 for Karen, and therefore I can very quickly accept them. It's only your first time if you have a large catalog where this can be a little cumbersome. Pick your most prominent people, the people you shoot most frequently, tag them first, then go off to lunch, come back later, and see if it's improved its results dramatically or not. But it is a nice way to have it try to help you, speed you up with your being able to identify people. Now with this though, there's a little bit you should know related to where it's putting these keywords, because it's actually tagging these images with keywords. Let's get out of the face mode. I'll go back to my normal grid view. And on the right side of my screen, when I'm in the library module, here we have various options related to metadata and keywording. If I open this area called keyword list, we can do something a little special here. If you look first, I've already organized my keywords. Yours wouldn't be this way if you just got started, but these are a lot of the people keywords that have been tagged on images. And so if I want to, let's say, change a typo, or like, I don't know Drew's last name, but if I discover what it is and I want to change it, I can right click on any one of these and I can delete it if I just don't want it to be used anymore. Or right here, edit keyword tag. I could correct misspelling in here, add their last name, or anything like that. The other thing that I can do is I can have Lightroom collect all the people keywords into a special area. And that's what I have here. I have this thing called model. And it automatically, when I tag an image with a new name that I've never used before, it's going to automatically place it within this parent keyword called model. Well, how do you do that? Well, if you watch the session that we had on keywording, you'd know how to make keywords in general. But if you right-click on this keyword, there's a choice in here related to people keywords. Let's see, take me just a moment to find it. Right there. Put new person keywords inside this keyword. If you turn that on, then it means anytime you're in that people mode, the face tagging mode, and you add a brand new person that's never been tagged before, instead of being on the base level of your keyword list, it will be right here inside this keyword called model. And therefore, you can organize them and make it relatively easy to find all the people that you have tagged. And therefore, if you've tagged people with words like bride, groom, and all that, you'd find them here. And if you then get back to your office and can look up the actual names of those people, you could modify them, which is nice. The other thing is you may have tagged people's names before you knew that this feature existed. You might have just been using keywords in general, and you found a picture of a person and you added a keyword to it with their name. Well, if you've done that and you want that particular name to be one of the ones available when you're in that face recognition feature, what you can do is go to any keyword that you have. If you right-click on it and say you want to edit your keyword, you're going to find a choice right here called person. And only the keywords that have that turned on will be available when you are in the facial recognition feature and you're typing in names. It'll only look for keywords that have been used before and have that checkbox turned on. And so if you've tagged people before you knew about the facial recognition, go find their keywords, right-click on them, tell them you want to edit the keyword, and turn on that little person checkbox. Another thing you might want to consider is I often turn off the include on export checkbox, especially if the person within the photograph is a minor. I just don't want, when I export my images, to have that tagged. There are other ways of preventing that from happening, but when it comes to minors, it's something where I want to absolutely ensure that it does not get exported. So that is how we can both view images on a map and also get pictures of people tagged. Before we go, I should mention that if you purchase the class, you get homework. And so with homework, you are going to start wanting to explore the map feature and get comfortable with it. Also, it'd be nice if you started tagging some of your people in your photographs so that when we get on to being able to find images in 5 seconds or less, you're going to be ahead of yourself because you're going to have two options, one with people, one with maps. That'll make it faster to find things. So tomorrow, we're going to talk about adjustment workflows for specific kinds of images. We're going to talk about converting to black and white. We'll talk about merging multiple exposures together into what's known as a high dynamic range, or HDR image. And I'll also show you how to stitch panoramas. But before then, why don't you head off to the Facebook group? If you look at the web address at the bottom of the screen right now, if you type that in, you can join the Facebook group. Sometimes it takes us a few hours to approve you for the group, but once you're in there, you're going to find that there will be posts related to the class. That's where you can comment on a particular lesson. That's where you can also ask questions. Finally, if you purchase the class, you're going to have a much better learning experience with Lightroom, because you're not going to be limited to the videos. And even with the videos, you'll be able to pause, rewind, and play it back as many times as you want. You'll also have a handbook. The handbook, or it might be called, I mix up the words handbook, workbook, and PDF, but I all mean the same thing. But there's one for each week, and it runs through exactly what we covered in each lesson, so you don't always have to play a video to remember how to accomplish something. If it's something you just need a quick refresher on, the PDF will work just fine. Also, with the homework assignments you get each night, that makes it so you end up practicing the techniques we covered, and therefore you can get good at them before you actually need to use them with your own images, so you're comfortable by the time those features would actually be valuable. Well, if you are going to be trying to figure out where to browse before tomorrow's episode comes around, why don't you find me on social media, on Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, and therefore we can stay in touch. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next episode of Lightroom Classic, a complete guide.